So let's talk about Pakistan's judiciary. It's this incredibly powerful, really complex system that, shapes everything from daily life to how the entire country is governed. But, and this is a big but, it's also a system under a ton of strain. We're going to dive into how it all works and, just as importantly, where it's struggling.
Right at the very core of Pakistan's judiciary, you find this powerful ideal. It's a quote from the Quran, and it's their official motto. So judge between the people in truth. It's a really simple but profound call for absolute fairness. But what happens when that ideal runs smack into a very, very different reality?
Well, that reality is a backlog of an estimated 2 million cases. And that isn't just a statistic. It represents a massive hurdle to delivering the very justice that motto promises. So keep that number, 2 million, in the back of your mind as we get deeper into the system's structure. To really make sense of all this, we're going to walk through it step by step. We'll kick things off with a big picture view, then we'll explore the different levels of courts, the high-ups and the day-to-day ones, and finally we'll look at how judges actually get their seats on the bench in the first place. Okay, so what kind of justice system are we actually dealing with here? Well, its foundation is built on common law, which is a legacy from the British colonial period. But that's really just the starting point. It's a system that's been molded over time by local customs and Islamic principles, which creates this truly unique legal landscape you won't find anywhere else.
The easiest way to think about it is that the whole system is split into two main tiers. You've got the superior judiciary at the top. Think of them as the guardians of the Constitution. And then you have the subordinate judiciary, and these are the courts handling the everyday legal issues that affect most people's lives.
Let's start right at the top with the superior judiciary. These are the courts that have the incredibly important job of upholding the Constitution of Pakistan. At the very, very peak of this tier is the Supreme Court. Then you've got the Federal Shariat Court, which has a very specific and interesting role we'll get into, and sitting just below them are the High Courts, which are the top courts for each province.
The Supreme Court is, well, exactly what it sounds like. It's the highest court in the land. When it makes a ruling on a legal or constitutional issue, that's it. It's final. And every other court in the country has to follow it.
Now, the Supreme Court's power goes way beyond just hearing appeals. It's the ultimate interpreter of the Constitution. And it has this really unique power called suo moto, which basically means it can start cases on its own, especially when it sees a violation of human rights. Historically, it's also served as a kind of check on military power, which is a huge deal.
Then we have the Federal Shariat Court, which is a really unique part of the whole system. Its main job is to look at Pakistan's laws and make sure they line up with Islamic principles. Now, if it finds a law that's in conflict, the court can actually order the government to change it.
And to round out this top tier, we have the High Courts. There's one for each of the main provinces: Punjab, Sindh, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and Baluchistan, and another one for the capital city, Islamabad. These courts are the main judicial hubs within their own regions.
Okay, now let's move down a level to the subordinate judiciary. These are the courts that most people in Pakistan will actually interact with, if they ever have to. This is really where the law has a direct impact on everyday life.
This level is made up of a whole bunch of different courts. You've got the district courts, which handle the majority of civil and criminal cases. Then there are specialized courts, like family courts that deal with things like marriage and child custody, and of course, juvenile courts for younger offenders.
And this is where that massive 2 million case backlog we talked about earlier really hits home. Think about this. It can take an average of nearly a decade for a lawsuit to finally be resolved. That kind of delay can become its own form of injustice. So, what is causing this incredible logjam? Well, a massive part of the problem is land disputes. Get this. An estimated 90% of all civil cases are about land. And a big reason for that is the lack of a clear, centralized system for tracking who owns what. It just creates endless conflict.
All right, so beyond those two main hierarchies, there's another layer we need to talk about: special courts and tribunals. These are set up to handle very specific areas of law that require expert knowledge and a much more focused approach. And the variety of these courts is just huge. I mean, they cover everything from terrorism and banking to consumer rights and environmental issues. There are even courts set up specifically to handle corruption cases. Those are called accountability courts. The whole idea is to have judges who are specialists in these really complex fields. And finally, that brings us to the really critical question of how the judges are chosen in the first place. This process is absolutely key to making sure the judiciary stays independent, and it's a system that's actually gone through some major changes pretty recently.
See, the old way of doing it was pretty simple.
The president would just appoint a judge based on the Chief Justice's recommendation. But that system got a lot of criticism for being too secretive and, well, too open to political influence. So the new system is all about making the process more transparent and balanced.
So how does it work now? Well, it's basically a three-step dance. First, a special judicial commission, made up of judges, lawyers, and the law minister, nominates a candidate. Then that nomination has to be approved by a parliamentary committee. It's only after all that the president can make the official appointment. So you can see, it's designed to have a lot more checks and balances.
Which really brings us to the fundamental question here. Pakistan's judiciary is this unique mix of legal traditions, and it's facing these enormous challenges, from the case backlog inside to its complex relationship with the other branches of government outside. As it grapples with its own growing power and that immense pressure to deliver justice, the path it takes from here is going to have a massive impact on the future of the entire nation.